Okie doke. Let's get this show on the road. Here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by people. Real people, like me, and a few thousand others. Now, we understand if you're not in a position to join us right now, but maybe, just maybe, you're someone who could, let's say once a quarter, just 4 measly times a year, take a pass on that double-shot, no-whip, caramel, mocha loco whoozy what's it you buy every day on the way to work, and instead go to bit.ly/helpdtns and pledge that money to support the show. See? Value for value. Coffee for tech news. And here's what you get in return.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Very happy today to be joined by Lyndsey Gilpin, staff writer at TechRepublic.com. How's it going, Lyndsey?
Good, thanks.
And across the continent, kind of northwards, her boss, editor-in-chief of Tech Republic, Jason Hiner. How's it going, Jason?
Hey, it's going great. I'm cold. It's 28 degrees or something here. It's crazy.
They saved you winter in Detroit. How nice.
That was so kind. They saved me a little winter.
They kept it in the freezer, which was all of Detroit, apparently.
The whole city. The whole city, yeah.
Well, cool. We're going to talk about robots. Jason got to look at some robots today. There's an article about whether you're going to lose your job to a robot or not. But let's start off with some headlines. Google announced its wireless telephone service today for invitees who either have or will promise to get a Nexus 6. The service is called Project Fi, F-I. TechCrunch reports the network promises to seamlessly switch customers between not only the T-Mobile network, but also the Sprint network and the Wi-Fi available to you based on whichever one is faster where you are. The rate plan is similar to Ting. Subscribers pay $20 for unlimited talk and text, and then $10 per gig of data, and you only pay for what you use. So if you pay $30 a month, but you use more data, you just pay an extra $10. You don't get penalized. Vice versa, if you're paying $50 a month and you use less data, they give you a rebate at the end of the month. You can request an invite if you'd like to join at fi.google.com. Are either of you going to request an invite? Are you excited about this?
No.
Probably not.
A resounding not excited from the Tech Republic.
I do think the one thing I wonder about this is, a lot of the people that I know that have Nexus devices are kind of techies, and they are using more and more data. It's funny, people used to have these unlimited plans, but they barely ever had, they barely used that much of their data. Well, now people with Spotify and YouTube and just video online, people are using a lot more data, and so I actually think, I see people using 3-4 gigs of data. All of a sudden, what looks like maybe $30 turns into 50 or 60 really quickly. So I kind of wonder how much of a good deal it really is, especially for the kind of people who are going to own a Nexus 6.
And it's not just about the rate plan either. It's also about the reliability of the service. If you look at the map, the entire state of Montana, not covered by this. And granted, that might change if Google can strike some more deals or T-Mobile and Sprint start to roll out in more places. Obviously, there's roaming agreements. I think the most interesting thing here, though, is whether Google can deliver on their promise of wanting to make it simple, right? So maybe it's not necessarily cheaper, but you always know what you're going to pay. You know what you're getting. You're not paying for an 8-gigabyte plan and then only using 2 gigabytes of it some months, which is what I do, because some months I needed it 8 gigabytes and I don't want to have to keep managing it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's going to be bad for carriers, though, if Google succeeds. That's the one thing I will pull out of this, right, is the fact that this makes T-Mobile and Sprint into dumb pipes. Google's like, we're going to use whichever one's best. We don't really care.
Good point.
And I'm not surprised that you didn't see AT&T and Verizon one.
No.
Facebook released Hello, an Android app dialer that lets you make free calls over Wi-Fi, according to The Verge. Hello uses Facebook to ID callers and search for phone numbers, and you can send numbers straight to voicemail by either choosing those numbers, saying, I don't want to ever answer a call from this number, or using a list of commonly blocked numbers that is crowdsourced from other Hello users. If you miss a call, Hello will let you respond either by calling them back or using Facebook Messenger. Facebook says it has no plans to make money from the app directly. They just feel it's core to being able to use the Facebook system. It's also probably a lot more likely to be used than the Facebook lock screen app, Facebook Home.
I just can't imagine people verbing this one like, "Hey, I'm gonna hello you later. Just hello me." You know, don't just hit me.
I still don't use Messenger, so probably
Same.
not that either.
Well, I wonder if Facebook can draw in people who use Facebook Messenger into using this because it's seamless. Theoretically, it's seamless.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the idea of having a better contact manager. That's one complaint I have about all the phone apps I've ever used is the contact management part of it is always dicey. I usually have like 20 versions of poor Sarah Harbin's entry in there for some reason because it just constantly gets copied over every time I sync or something.
All right, hello me after the show.
I'll hello you about it. The Verge reports that Microsoft is updating its Band wearable to integrate bike tracking apps Strava and Map My Ride. The new insights are visible on the Microsoft Health web dashboard. It can now provide comparisons with an average of other users based on height and weight, sort of see where you stand amongst other users. It will also show users how well their body is restoring overnight during sleep, and it tracks fitness improvements over time and volume of oxygen used during an exercise, so you know what time of day you tend to have your most effective workout. Microsoft Health app for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone is also getting an update to support step counting sensors present in many smartphones. So I've been intrigued by the Microsoft Band because it works on multiple platforms, and it seems like they're trying to expand its usability more and more.
Yeah, multi-platform is cool. The interesting thing, like how your body is restoring overnight, is kind of interesting. If they're taking some analytics there and doing more than just telling you how much you sleep or how many times you woke up and that kind of thing, that sort of interests me. Although the sleep one, like the Fitbit one, does kind of a nice job of it. But I don't like it. I've stopped wearing it because I hate seeing how little I'm actually sleeping, and so it's sort of depressing.
I do think that the key to all of these is that I don't feel locked in. Right now, if I get the Microsoft Band, the nice thing is I can use it on any platform. So if I switch from iOS to Android or back, I can still use the Band. However, I have to use the Microsoft Health app, which is usable on most platforms. But what if I decide, I want to move to Google Health Kit? So the idea that Microsoft might down the road integrate, I said Google Health Kit, which is combining Apple and Google, but if it integrates with Google's health service or with Apple Health Kit down the road, that would make me even more likely to want to go Microsoft in this case.
I don't know. But the Band, I don't know, Lyndsey, you wore a Band for like a week, and that was about all you could see. What do you think? Would you wear this one?
Yeah. Maybe, probably for a few months, and then I'll take it off. But I do like the idea of having kind of the science behind, why your body's processing things the way it is. I think that's fascinating. I would imagine people would think that's more interesting than just seeing that they're only sleeping 3 hours a night.
Yeah, giving you some useful analytics.
Mm-hmm.
CNET has a preview of HP's new back-to-school laptops and hybrids. Yep, it's getting to be that time already. It's only April. The $499 Pavilion X360 foldback hybrid's 11-inch model has a fanless design because it comes with the Intel Core M, 1366 by 768 touchscreen panel. Then there's a $529 13-inch Pavilion X360, comes with Core i3 and i5 and an optional 1920 by 1080p display. The $679 15.6 HP Envy X360 comes in silver and red, uses either Core i5 or i7, and has a discrete graphics processor from NVIDIA. And HP's other Pavilion laptops come online May 13th, in stores June 21st. They have 14, 15, and 17-inch models, all with optical drives, starting at $479. The prices and availability on the Pavilion X360, the X360 is out in the U.S. May 13th, and the Envy X360 is online June 13th and available in stores June 21st.
They're kind of lookers too. Like they look pretty sharp. That's
bright colors, right?
Yeah, nice colors and decent designs, and they're cheap. I mean, you pair one of these with Windows 10, which is nicer. I mean, I think that I could see recommending one of these to somebody that just wanted something for less than, didn't want to spend $1,000 like you have to spend to get a Mac, and wanted to spend like under $500, $700.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And everybody gets Windows 10 who buys one of these because it comes with Windows 8.1, and anybody running Windows 8.1 is going to get a free upgrade to Windows 10.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to be part of a program or get a coupon or anything like that. You're just going to get it.
Yes.
An application form to receive a free developer edition of Valve's HTC Vive virtual reality set has been posted. You can go to steamcommunity.com/steamvr/signup and enter your company name, URL, team size, and here's the kicker, a detailed description of your VR project. And if they deem you worthy, you might just get a headset shipped to you sometime this spring or summer. But they still say they're going to ship these to consumers by the end of the year, so it's a pretty aggressive timeline.
Yeah, people liked it when they saw it at when it got unveiled, and the people I know that saw it thought the demos and stuff looked good. HTC's just been struggling so much. It'll be interesting to see if this can help them, get some of their mojo back.
Some important diversification.
Yeah, that too.
Time for some news from you. These come from our subreddit. Get in there and vote, folks. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. The more of you make your opinion known, the better the show gets. JMZ668 and Starfury Zeta both pointed out the Engadget article that Tesla emailed investors to let them know that the April 30th announcement from the company will be a battery for the home and a very large utility-oriented battery, which apparently Walmart has been testing. No details on how the batteries would improve on existing home batteries that are most often used to store excess power from solar installations, but I guess that's what April 30th is for. Lyndsey, you had a good clean tech article up today because it happens to be Earth Day. Yeah. I imagine that Tesla may have let this leak out to investors because of that, possibly.
Yeah. It's so exciting, though, because everyone's been talking for so long about when this is going to go mainstream, and knowing that and the biggest problem in clean tech is not having cheap batteries or any kind of storage to store excess solar power that you get from your house. So it's really exciting to think that if they can make it cheap enough, then they can actually get this out to real people who are going to use it, and instead of oil and gas.
And even if you don't have solar, it looks like they're going to try to market it in other ways as well, as sort of like helping you through power outages, or maybe evening out the peaks and valleys so that they can store energy during low cost times, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's really good because as the price of solar panels comes down, and then if they get the battery storage up as well, then that together is going to be a super powerful thing.
And then we go into having the power companies all panicking because they're not sending enough money through the grid, which is already happening in Hawaii. They're like limiting solar rollout there because the power companies are like, we don't know how to properly meter this stuff right now.
We're
getting too much power back from the people with solar. Yeah.
Man.
2015 will be good to see all this roll out.
Work on
it. But I think it'll be awesome.
Starfury Zeta marked the BBC story for inclusion that reports Adblock won a judgment in Hamburg, Germany's court against German news publishers Die Welt and Handelsblatt. The publishers claim Adblock was anti-competitive and threatened company revenues because it blocked ads. The court ruled users have a right to use the plugin. The publishers may appeal. They're waiting for a written decision to be delivered from the court. This is a tough one, especially if you're in publishing, as you guys are, and your ad-supported publications need to make money. Adblock does a thing with whitelisting so that some ads get delivered, and they argue that it's up to the user how they consume the product. Jason, do you have a position on this in any way?
Excellent German pronunciations, by the way.
Were they? I was just totally
I think so. I mean, I don't really know, but that sounded great.
I was convincing. I sold it. Okay, good.
Very convincing. Yeah. No, well, it's one of those things. Like, obviously, we work in ad-supported media, but at the same time, I do think that users, if they're, it's one of those things, micromanaging users as to what they can and can't use, and something like Adblock. I think it's only a small percent of the population that's ever going to use something like that, and so I think going after them and trying to ban it and that kind of thing is kind of silly and pointless. If it became a situation where such a huge percentage of people were using something like this, then I think it would develop into a problem. And would have to be dealt with. But I do think it is only a power user thing, and I think that in principle, telling people they can't use that kind of software is sort of a slippery slope. I think people would think it would be a slippery slope the other way, but I don't know. I feel like, yeah, on the internet, people, there are things and innovations that are focused on, improving user experience. And if a lot of people went to something like this, it would be a big red flag to media companies that the ads that they are showing people are not helpful and useful enough, and they need to change what they do. And that would be a good thing if something like that happened. So that's my position.
Yeah, and there is a slippery slope there. If people don't understand what Jason's saying, like, okay, no ad block. What about script blockers? I run no script.
Yeah, exactly.
And suddenly a bunch of ads don't show up because I'm running no script. Am I not allowed to run no script now because it happens to also block ads? I mean, there is an argument to be made. Waffleophagus pointed out the BGR report noting that Jay-Z and SoftBank-backed music service Tidal Tidal. I keep wanting to call it Tidal. I have no idea why. I just want to mash it up with Tinder for some reason. Tidal is no longer in the top 700 apps on iPhone in the U.S. Pandora and Spotify, by the way, are numbers 3 and 4, and Spotify was not in the top 40 prior to March 31st.
Whew.
Tidal has announced an upcoming service called Discovery, which will allow independent artists to upload their music directly to the service. But it looks like Tidal had a brief flash, now has faded, and they may have done more good for Spotify than they did for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm all about Spotify. I don't think it can be beat right now. I pay for the premium service for it, so I don't know. That's the only one I use, really.
It's kind of hard to make a pitch for your service being for artists when you still don't have a way for independent artists to upload their music directly. You have to go through third parties.
Yeah. Agreed. Everybody, there's so much momentum around Spotify. And it is one of those things like, they kind of build a better mousetrap, I think. It's so much easier to do playlists. It's so much easier to find music. What else what did you say, Linz?
I just said to share music.
Yeah, to share, exactly.
That's, my wife has switched to it because of Discovery, because she's like, it has the songs I want, it exposes me to cool songs that I enjoy. I'm still over here on Rdio out of inertia myself, but I get what she's saying, and frankly, I want to move to something like Google All Access, where I can have a subscription service and my own tunes, because a lot of times I can't find the stuff I want, even on a Spotify, because I'm just looking at obscure, weird little things like that. So
thank you, Tom. You're the other person. I actually kind of prefer Google All Access for that exact same reason too, because I listen to weird stuff that's not on Spotify, and so and that's exactly why. But I'm the only person I know that
well, now there's two of us.
Dude, just do Spotify.
Captain Kipper posted a Gizmodo story from the RSA conference about an iOS 8 vulnerability demonstrated by researchers from SkyCure yesterday, on Monday. If a device connects to a compromised Wi-Fi access point, attackers can generate an SSL certificate that causes apps, and sometimes, in certain conditions, the entire OS, to crash and endlessly reboot. Targets of the attack would have to move out of range of the Wi-Fi access point to stop the cycle. So you can imagine somebody chasing someone around in a car just to keep their phone rebooting. iOS 8.3 has an update that mitigates the effect somewhat, and SkyCure has previously reported the vulnerability to Apple, so presumably they're working on a patch. First of our big scare stories to come out of RSA. You can expect more of these as the week goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that is a look at the headlines. All right, we had a bunch of stories out today about various robotics. Real quickly, though, a couple of earnings, and I know earnings aren't hugely important, but Facebook reported a 42% rise in quarterly revenue, mostly in mobile advertising sales. Revenue rose to $3.54 billion from $2.5 billion. Revenue from advertising was $3.32 billion, a 46% rise from a year earlier. So Facebook doing well. Also, Roger Chang, our producer, noting that eBay pops 4% on the stock market after reporting Q1 revenue of $4.45 billion and better than expected 70 cents per share profit. So good news for the earnings on both Facebook and eBay. Bad news if your job is not creative, though, because a study has come out from a nonprofit organization in the UK called Nesta. Nesta wants to help people deal with technology in the modern workplace. Hassan Bakshi, who is Director of Creative Economy at Nesta, teamed up with Carl Frey and Michael Osborne from Oxford to do a study on what jobs might be most at risk to be automated. In other words, either AI or robotics could take over those jobs. They found out that in the United States, 21% of U.S. jobs count as highly creative. That means they need some kind of creative human aspect. They're not just rote, they're not data-driven. And 86% of creative U.S. jobs are at low or no risk of being automated. Now, mind you, that means 14% of even the creative jobs are at risk of being automated. Yeah. And we'll talk about that a little. But if you're an artist or a musician or even an IT manager or a therapist, basically you are more immune to the effects of automation. The more repetitive and dependent on data your work is, the more easily a human can be pushed aside. It doesn't mean you're going to make more money at it, though, Jason.
Yeah. So it's interesting today. So I'm actually in Detroit at this conference called SAE, which is this engineering conference for the automotive industry. And one of the automakers, Honda, has been in robotics for a long time, for 30 years, and they have this robot Osimo, which they've been doing since about 2000. And the latest version of Osimo has come out recently. So I kind of hung out with Osimo today. I posted a picture of me and Osimo on like Twitter and on Google Plus and Instagram. Me and Osimo are Facebook friends now. But the funny thing is, as advanced as this thing is, and it's made these huge strides. I mean, it's doing basic stuff like it can walk around now. They're totally aiming this at like human helpers, so that it can kind of it can clean your house, or they can send it in to do like to do like landmine, to test for landmines, or go into like nuclear facility cleanups and things like this. So things we really don't want humans to do, other than cleaning a house. But the funny thing is, as far as it's come, is it's still very limited in what it can do. And there's a great article that Nick Heath wrote on Tech Republic last year, a cover story article called "Why AI could destroy more jobs than it creates, and how to save them." And it's this article with Eric Bernolfson, who wrote The Second Machine Age, and a number of other researchers on AI to be like to look at where are we and kind of what jobs are at risk and which ones aren't. And the interesting thing is, it talked about all the stuff you mentioned, Tom, the creativity, those kinds of jobs are somewhat immune. But they also found, interestingly enough, some jobs that are kind of more manual, even that are not going to necessarily be replaced, which I thought was one of the more interesting things. It helps kind of balance some of the scare tactic things that, even interestingly enough, come out of the mouths of people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, which make it sound like, okay, AI and robots and artificial intelligence is going to wipe out everything, and we're pretty much screwed. But these researchers, what a number of them say is that there are some manual jobs that are just what they call surprisingly resistant to automation. That jobs even that are kind of poorly compensated, but that are very difficult for robots to emulate. And some of them are. Yeah. Here's some examples. So they said that the things that a lot of times require very tactile kind of skills with your hands, very fine motor skills, basically. What they call sort of extrasensory or sensory motor work. So things like repairmen and cooks, carpenters, dentists, home health aides, which is interesting because that sort of goes against what the Osimo thing is, which can help you in your home. But part of the home health aid thing is sort of recognizing, you may say, oh yeah, I feel fine, but they sort of look at you and they sort of look at sort of your color and the way you're talking, and they can notice that there's a difference in the way that you usually talk, and they can know that something is kind of off about you, right?
Just being able to anticipate sort of creatively what is necessary. Yeah. And I think a lot of those manual jobs you're talking about require a certain amount of creativity, because you can't just follow the same pattern every time in repair work, for instance. You have to be able to creatively identify the trouble.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So some of these are, it's not just software engineers, right? Or it's not just architects. It really is some of these other jobs that we don't think of as being creative, but are require a lot of skill and experience and sort of instinct. And instinct is something that's built up with years and years of experience, essentially, in this perspective.
Nesta describes it as autonomous control struggling when tasks are highly interpretive, or like you're talking about with the homemade, geared at products whose final form is not fully specified in advance. Craftsman, making a nice chair. You can make the same chair over and over again, but what if you want something that has a little bit of style to it? And when work task environments are complex, essentially when there are a lot of variables to take into account, some of which are ill-defined. What's interesting is journalism falls under both sides of this. There are some journalistic tasks that are already being automated, especially things like financial reports, and others that aren't. Lyndsey, are you worried? Which side do you think you'll fall on?
Well, hopefully the one where my job is not taken, but the New York Times had this quiz a couple weeks ago where you had to guess if a robot or a human wrote these AP stories mostly, and I think I only got half of them right. So it's hard to tell. It's kind of amazing. It's just the quick news bits and the business pieces and that kind of thing. But I think it's fascinating that we don't even realize how many of them are already writing some of these stories.
Yeah, and like earnings. So like the earnings are very easy to automate. Those basic news hits, like you're saying, Lyndsey. Obviously, the stuff like that you do, which is mostly long form and features, and sort of connecting the dots between different parts of information in the industry and those kind of things. Those are the things that are very difficult.
We like to think we're creatives as journalists, so.
Well. Yeah, those are the things that are more difficult, And again, it takes more experience and a little more finesse, and having knowledge in different areas, and then connecting that stuff together. And so that's the stuff that that really is the future of journalism, at least for journalists, is more analysis, I believe, and more creative thinking and critical thinking. And less of 100 outlets doing the same story, which we really don't need. We only need a handful of, and mostly could be automated.
I think there's a positive to be drawn out of this, because I know most people look at this and they think, robots are coming to take my job. Tech is going to throw me out of work, and that is a fair and valid concern, especially when you have Carl Frey and Michael Osborne from Oxford in a 2013 paper saying that they estimate that 47% of U.S. jobs will be automated by 2033, right? And now we have this new story out today saying only 21% of jobs are even creative enough in the United States to resist automation. However, there's never, if you look through history, there's never a one-to-one over the longer term between a technology rise and people being out of work. Yes, we had the Luddites and the saboteurs throwing their wooden shoes into the looms, the industrial looms, but eventually things balance out, and what happens is human beings find better things to do, and the rise of the creative class at all comes out of those kinds of advances. So what this will hopefully do, and I'm being totally Pollyanna, right, is create more opportunities for more people to become creative and be able to support themselves that way.
True, and when people have that time, because a lot of times it's one of those processes that it's a painful process, because it's created by people then not having the need to do the things they used to do and spend their time on, and so they have free time. And in that free time, and human beings are just so naturally curious and creative by their very nature that they then, what comes out of that, having that time, is something new that sort of pushes the human race forward. And I know, again, that's very also very optimistic and Pollyanna, but there's plenty of historical support for it.
It's that long-term view versus, and it doesn't help you if you're the one who got thrown out of a job. Believe me.
It doesn't. I know. It's a painful process.
Humanity
it's always
versus individuals. All right, let's get our pick of the day. JB Hanna says, for my personal website and a few others that I run, I use a service called Cloudflare for DNS, as well as caching and HTTPS. It works like any other DNS provider, has a very easy-to-use interface for managing your records. It also provides various levels of caching of pages, scripts, and images on its CDN servers in different parts of the world, which improves your site's load time and reduces server load, and can even run various optimizations on them to further reduce file sizes and load times. And it lets you enable HTTPS for your sites even if you don't have your own SSL certificate and without any server configuration. All you need to do is press a button. Same with enabling things like IPv6. Anyway, he highly recommends it. I actually use it as well as part of the DreamHost service that I use. You can get it at cloudflare.com. That's CLOUDFLARE.com. Thank you, JB Hanna, for the pick.
Nice.
Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Few emails before we get out of here. One from Ron Ladd, pointing out that there are a number of sources for good high-quality music. hdtracks.com, which was our pick yesterday, is one of them. But Ron says, just be sure you know what you're buying and if it is worth what you pay. To quote from a site that has fantastic information on audio, misinformation and superstition only serve charlatans. Ziph.org, xiph.org, has a good article called 24192 Music Downloads and Why They Make No Sense. And I think 24192 was mentioned in regards to HD Tracks yesterday. There is a controversy out there. A lot of people say, yeah, 24192 does not matter. And Ron would like you to read up on it. So he sent us some links. He says just under the headline is a link to a video clip digital show and tell that is the best 24-minute digital audio versus analog audio explainer that is in existence. It's a must-watch for anyone interested in audio at xiph.org. We'll have the direct links in our show notes as well. Thank you, Ron, for writing in. Either of you guys into audio that much, or are you into the audiophile, like lossless stuff? Because I'm not.
I wish I was. I kind of wish I was. I wish I was that cool, but I'm not. Lyndsey, you listen to a lot of music.
Yeah. I just listen. I don't know much about it.
I remember.
Well, there you go. Ron's given us some places where we can go brush up.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Whenever I think of stuff like this, I think of the whole Neil.
The Pono.
Yeah, the Pono. Thank you. That's exactly what I think of, is Pono.
Yeah.
Which has been supposedly is technologically amazing, but it's you have to have such a good ear to hear the difference.
Yeah.
You know.
And we'll have a good phone call on the audio version of the show afterwards from a guy talking about how much difference your equipment makes and how much difference you can tell.
Cool.
Got a lot of emails from people regarding Twitter's new anti-harassment policy. I want to run through 4 excerpts from them real quick and then get Jason and Lindsay's reactions here. Ross said the problem with the Twitter versus phone analogy from the conversation we were having yesterday is this. Over the years, laws have been passed to prevent harassment and provide recourse to victims of telephone harassment. Twitter does not have these protections. Add in the ease of the harasser recruiting aid with a simple hashtag and it gets ugly real fast. Fair point. A few people pointed out that Twitter uses the term free speech and that Twitter is not subject to the protections of the U.S. First Amendment, which is fair enough, but you can encourage freedom of speech on your platform without being bound by a constitutional protection for it. There's a difference between the First Amendment and the general concept of freedom of speech. But thanks to everybody writing in. Rich from lovely Cleveland had a good thought. He said, Twitter is interested in free speech in so much as it makes them a relevant conduit of information against which they can serve ads. And when free speech enters into the realm of heinous abuse or bullying, they have a financial interest to curb it so as not to dissuade users. Free speech is a charged phrase, and Twitter's obligation to it is purely commercial, which in this case is leading to an outcome that appears to be morally satisfying as well. So a very good point to remember. 2 more here. Peter added, I would love to see Twitter accounts require identity verification, and with this improved level of accountability, if you're getting harassed, you could go to the police. I would like to see arrests, and one of the first things the police or FBI do when you report death threats or harassment is tell you not to publicize or draw attention to the fact that you have been threatened, because it makes the situation harder to investigate and invites more trolls. And yet this is never what people do on Twitter. Finally, Cody wrote in with the positive side of the Twitter DMs feature. He says he wants to use an artist's music in a game he was developing and had to go through the long dance of publicly @replying the person, getting them to follow him back, and then being able to DM. He says it was somewhat frustrating considering the timed nature of my project, and although you could make the case that the artist should have had other ways to contact him, not being able to do so on Twitter unless we followed each other was a bit annoying, so he's happy to have the change in DMs there. I know that's a lot of different perspectives there to react to, but Lyndsey, I know you were interested in discussing this as well. What's your take on this?
Well, you know, what I keep thinking is that there's so many different things going on with their policies, but no matter what, I have to commend Twitter for keeping up this conversation of online harassment and how important it is to address it, because especially as a woman, I mean, that's constant online, and that's just, they're the only company that's talking about it and trying to enact some sort of policy to deal with the trolls. So that's all I keep thinking is just as long as we keep talking about it and trying to make it better, then that's a little Pollyanna too. But it's nice to see.
So we'll get there. I mean, the conversation is the important thing to finding some kind of solution. Some of the worst stuff is happening on Twitter, I see right now too, and so they do need to deal with it. I remember just a couple weeks ago during the Buzz Out Loud reunion, there was somebody when Natalie Del Conte, one of the worst instances of it I saw was somebody said something so sort of mean and nasty and awful to Natalie Del Conte, but kind of like what you were saying, Tom, like everyone like descended on that person and like they reported them and then they like called them out and all of that, but at the same time that probably what they discovered was like that person just created the account that day, and that kind of thing, and sort of chased them away. But I get, what I think is interesting in this is kind of the point that maybe that's the worst thing to do if we want to sort of want law enforcement, if it's really bad, which in this case I think this one was pretty bad, want law enforcement to get involved, is there's almost a case to be made of saying like ignore and alert and then let law enforcement investigate. And law enforcement has not caught up to the internet age still. They are trying and they're making steps, but they have not caught up to the internet age, and it's something that needs to that they need to put the pedal to the metal on that to catch up, and because people do these things because they feel like there are no repercussions and there are no consequences.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in the audience who work in law enforcement who express that same frustration. They're like, yeah, we need better tools. We need people to understand what the realities are out there. And so thank you to those folks who are trying to help educate the organizations in which they work.
Agreed. Thank you.
All right, well, that is it for the show. Thank you, both of you, for hanging out, talking tech. It's a pleasure, as always. You can find Jason and Lyndsey's work not only on techrepublic.com, but they've also got a book going on, and one of the reasons I know about it is I was ridiculously honored to be included in the book. In fact, you can read a sample chapter from Follow the Geeks at followthegeeksbook.com right now. And it's not just about me. It's got Molly Wood in there. It's got Eileen Rivera, Jetty Josephson. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much for including me, though. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting us hang out. We're coming out there and hang out with you for the day.
That was fun, actually. I had a good time.
It was a lot of fun.
We could do it again. You don't have to be writing a book about it.
Cool. Deal.
So go check it out, followthegeeksbook.com. And anything else? I know, Lyndsey, you've got that story on clean tech up on Tech Republic. I'll include a link to that in the show notes as well. Anything else to tell folks about?
Yeah, well, just look at our clean tech stuff. I mean, not just on Earth Day, but please look at it. I'm like a one-woman show on Tech Republic with all my clean tech stuff. So, awesome. And it's a cool topic.
And we're doing, as we always do on Tech Republic, we have a steady stream of cover stories, long form that we do, which is a lot of stuff that we spend a lot of time on and really put a lot of effort in on what we think of as are some of the biggest stories on the most important issues in tech. We have some new ones coming next week. I won't tease them yet, but they're worth checking out. We've got some good stuff coming over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And if you guys, if you have a little extra time and you're on Tech Republic, click into the videos and check out those 5 apps. They're not bad.
Yes.
At least the articles are pretty good. I don't know about the video.
The videos are awesome.
Thank you, patrons, for supporting the show as well. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support is the place to go. If you get some value out of the show, all we ask is that you give a little bit of that value back in whatever way you can, whether it's pledging support on Patreon or giving us a one-time donation or buying something in the DailyTechNewsShow.com store. We got mugs and phone chargers and stuff like that, or just telling people about the show. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live at tunein.alphageekradio.com Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Lamar Wilson and Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was great, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good show. Thanks, Tom.
Great show.
Good show.
The sun got really bright in here. Oh my god.
Yeah, somebody was saying it turned your shirt into stripes, but they thought it was maybe just the blinds.
It's just cloudy all day, and then it got super sunny just during the show. So,
That's crazy.
anyway.
Oh, funny.
Send some of that up to Jason. He
Yeah.
needs it in Detroit.
What's the temperature? Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
It's like 65, sorry.
Yeah.
No LA, but close.
True. It's not LA, but you know.
I'm not going to complain. We're like in the, we're in the upper 60s, low 70s. It's been cool lately.
Oh man. Hey Tom, a quick question. Diamond Club. So Diamond Club is the audio stream?
No, Alpha Geek Radio is the audio stream.
Okay.
And Frog Pants is the network, and Diamond Club is the community.
Okay. All right.
And then DiamondClub.tv also has the video, as does Alpha Geek Media. The video kind of plays in both places. Right. DiamondClub.tv is sort of the clubhouse for all the fans of stuff that myself, Veronica, Brian Brushwood, Justin Robert Young, Andrew Main, they have that's where the chat room is, and the video plays there.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool. I should have asked this before, but I realized it's funny. I just realized last week. I was like, hold on, I'm trying to sort out Diamond Club, Alpha Geek Radio.
I know. It doesn't fall neatly into containers is the problem. It makes perfect sense to us, but it's harder to describe.
Sure.
Once you try to put it in typical terms.
Cool. Well, I feel like at some point when we do, we get around to writing follow-up articles once the book is out, maybe we'll write a little an article on how to become a DTNS power user or something like that,
All right.
It explains all of these things.
Go interview BioCow and Tinvec and Dark Redeemer and Big Jim, all the folks in the chat room. They'll tell you.
Excellent. Perfect. Cool. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think Zoe Brings Bacon is very excited that she was mentioned in the chapter.
Find that out? That's awesome.
Good. Big Jim, too. Big Jim and
oh, yeah, that's right. Big Jim's in there as well.
I had a question for the both of you. I linked to your Twitter accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay, or would you prefer something else in the show notes?
That works, yeah. Thanks, Robert.
Sure.
So I just, if you remember, I just kind of hang out and edit the show. If you guys need to go, don't feel like you have to hang around. It's totally fine.
All right. Cool.
But you're welcome to as well. I'm not trying to run you out. Just don't want you to feel obligated.
Cool. So you're picking time to pick your show title,
oh,
yeah?
Right. Thanks for producing the show. What do we got here, Roger?
Hello, is it me you're Googling for? By Tinvec. Google, don't you lose my number. A lot of music references here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fear the robots.
I like that.
Google might be giant. I guess.
Maybe Don't Fear the Robots?
Don't fear the robot. You like that one?
I like that one. And then, of course, Yo Dog, I hear you like batteries, so we put a battery in your house so you can charge while you charge.
Swipe right for music title.
I like
ET phone Google.
Is there one you guys, anyone turning your heads, catching your ear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the robots one.
Yeah,
I'm
the
buying.
robots is good.
Don't fear the robots.
It works. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
If they have claws, they're very hard to escape from. Very strong.
It's funny, they made the Osimo one. It's only 4 foot tall, for a reason, so that it's not as intimidating to humans. So they made it small on purpose.
For real?
Yes, which I thought is interesting. But one of their challenges with that is, it's made for if it's in like a person's house that's physically challenged in some way.
It's too
And
small.
part of the things that it does is it's made to pick things up, like pick heavy stuff up and move it, But because it's so small, it doesn't have as much strength. And so they're trying to figure out how to give it more strength, even though it's smaller.
They'll probably end up looking like a little dwarf, very squat.
Awesome. Can you get that off the top shelf for me? No, I cannot.
I'm not tall enough. Let me get my. Maybe you can have like a like a go-go gadget hand. Or
Oh
something.
yeah, extender arms.
Yeah.
I was thinking with the idea, like, you ever watch the movie Moon?
Yeah.
So you know how like the AI travels around on tracks in the station.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that with an arm as well, or arms.
Mm.
You would have
That's like that robotic
track
kitchen.
lighting.
Oh
You guys
yeah,
seen that?
that robotic kitchen thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all positioned, but it's positioned to where it can do all of the things it needs to do to make a meal.
But you extend that out into the entire house.
Yeah.
So in case like someone who's mobility limited falls or something and they need help getting up.
Yeah.
The arms would just come over on a track and then pick them up. That's not frightening.
Have you tried living on your own if you're mobility limited?
It's all relative, isn't it? That's a good point. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I'm sure the idea of entrusting your life to a dog to cross the street without getting hit by a car was kind of, scary for people for the first time.
It's a fair point.
Yep. Very true.
I entrust my life to a dog every day. They won't eat me in my sleep.
Well, their teeth actually aren't designed to eat.
No, they're more for tearing.
Well, it turns out like dogs' teeth are actually perfect for what they do, which is scavenge.
Mm-hmm.
Like they eat going over leftovers, which is
And that's why dogs are so disgusting when they eat, because they're just scavengers. They lick every crumb off. It's actually amazing. It's it keeps your floors spotless.
It's true. It's fringe benefits.
It's funny when I'm like visiting a friend's house or at a hotel or something, and I drop a crumb and I realize, oh right, the dog isn't going to come and pick that up.
I have to get that.
I should be more careful.
So don't fear the robots. Dark Redeemer.
Yep. Dark Redeemer had the long title we couldn't use yesterday, so I guess it's only fair that he gets the.
Is that a thing now? With some of these? The long
Seems like
titles.
Yeah. The long title is definitely becoming a thing. Well, Tinvec said they had a music theme to the title suggestions today. So they're now running their own rules for the title selection.
Your bosses have changed the rules?
Hey man, they're the boss.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that we were able to dig into that in the chapter, because it's great that you guys have embraced that too. They have embraced it and you've embraced it, and it's real. It's so cool.
It's only honestly, I credit Brian Brushwood as much as anybody with encouraging that, because at first I was like, ooh, do I want to say that? Because yes, 4,000 of them are going to be great, but there's then that one person who's going to take it too seriously. But it hasn't been a problem.
Yeah.
And it's been great. So yeah, I'm glad that we went that way. And it's only recently that I've realized that having these good communities, and I'm not the only one, there's lots of them, are sort of against the trendy perception of online communities these days. Especially in the last year or so, the perception has become, oh, it's full of haters, and it's not what we've ever had, which is I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah, close down the comments, right? Nobody wants to do comments anymore because they're. But you also made the point that it takes work to do a community right and all of that. And so that's the difference. That's the difference between having a good community, and is when you do. It does take some curation, and it does take people understanding what the atmosphere and the rules are. And
you have to be a member of the community you run. That's actually the biggest thing I learned from CNET, from Lee Koo. Lee was a really stand-up, awesome member of the community that he managed, and he did such a great job because of that. And that's it's key. I mean, I think where a lot of these organizations go wrong is they're like, well, we turned on comments. Oh, look at that. People are saying things we didn't want them to say. It's like, well, yeah, but you're not in there answering them and talking to them. And I'm not even saying that answering and talking and engaging is a silver bullet, but you have a much better chance of success if you're a member of that community and you understand why it thinks the way it does.
And I think it also helps because you set the tone. By being in there, it shows that you care about the community, but also that you're actively engaged. And I think that, I mean, we had this at Tech TV or ZDTV for the longest time. Before we actually had a delay on all our live webcam callers, we used to be worried that people would be like, once on there, they would be doing something profane or lewd, and it's like, oh, just takes one and the whole thing's like, down the toilet. But we managed to engage the audience and the community in such a way that everyone was always on their best behavior, because we were on our best behavior, and it was just expected. It was kind of like, you set the expectation and everyone will follow in. If you have kind of like, whoever, first come first serve, anyone do whatever they want in this room, as long as you generate, content or stuff for us, I think is a bit more cynical, which is the problem with a lot of large organizations, especially news organizations, because they see it as an easy way to mine for new information, but at the same time
they just want the effect.
You need to grow it. When you grow a garden, you just can't just like plant seeds and walk away, right? You got to prune the leaves. You got to make sure there aren't caterpillars and stuff eating your tomatoes.
I was pulling an aphid off my tomato plants this morning, Roger.
You need ladybugs. They eat the aphids. They're so pretty.
I know. I've seen ladybugs around here, but not in a while.
Uh-oh. I wonder if it's like a bee thing.
I hope not.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, in celebration of Earth Day, I pulled an aphid off my tomato.
Hey, circle of life.
It's one of those things where Eileen, she's like, oh, they're selling tomatoes at the local community gardens, tomato plants, like starter plants. Let's go get some. I'm like, great. So we get them home. She's like, so what are you going to do with them? I'm like, I thought you wanted them. So now I'm raising the tomato plants.
Oh, that's great.
She's like, yeah, I wanted them so that you will grow them because I know you're good at this. So I'm like, oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, you have a green thumb.
I don't know about that.
Tom Thumb.
Yeah,
Tom Thumb?
Exactly. Thank you.
There you go.
Well, I'm out of the post.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Jason and Lyndsey. It was great talking with you guys.
Same here. Talk to you soon.
Very much. Great
All right. Stay warm.